You always think you'll see it coming, that a monster will have visible fangs, or at least a tail. My name is Eliza, and for 10 years I believed I was living a love story written by the gods. But it wasn't a romance. It was a clinical execution of my mind, my spirit, and everything I used to be. The person I loved most in this world wasn't a partner. He was a precise instrument of total annihilation. This is the story of how my entire existence was liquidated. And there is no justice coming to save me. A tragic, aggressive situation that left me completely alone. She had left me in possession of her substantial inherited estate. It wasn't just money. It was our home, our memories, and a sprawling portfolio of real estate. I was raw, broken, and desperate for safety. And there was Damien. He was charismatic, attentive, and instantly folded himself into my life with surgical precision. He stabilized my world. He started with the mundane tasks I neglected. He managed the complicated property tax schedules. He would look into my tear-streaked face and whisper that he was doing it so I could just focus on breathing again. I thought it was love. I didn't know it was a tactical analysis of my assets. The proposal came after just 6 months. It was perfect. It felt inevitable. A promise of eternal protection in exchange for my total trust. He used my mother's memory as a weapon, telling me that she would have wanted me to have a strong partner. Someone to anchor me. I was desperate to believe him, so I did. We married in a small, private ceremony. He called it a sanctuary. I didn't realize it was a cage. Once we were legally bound, the entire landscape slowly began to shift. The temperature didn't drop all at once. It was an imperceptible, multi-year freezing of my very existence. This is how sophisticated psychological control works. You don't just doubt the truth, you doubt your own sanity. You start to need your source of information to verify reality itself. It started with privacy. Damien suggested we move out of my family's large, premier estate and buy a more manageable luxury property on the other side of the city. He argued that the old house held too much of that profound grief for me, that a fresh start was non-negotiable for my mental health. I loved that house, but when he put it that way, when he framed it as my own need, I felt incredibly selfish for wanting to keep it. So we sold my family's legacy. He handled all the complicated paperwork, creating a shared corporate entity that supposedly protected both of us. Next came the supportive advice. He subtly began to question my friendships. He would plant a seed that another friend was jealous of our marriage. He would imply that my oldest friend was only around for my status. If I defended them, he would sigh with disappointment and say he was just trying to protect me from the fake people in the world. He positioned himself as my only real friend. Over time, I stopped calling them. Then I stopped thinking about them. He managed all the finances. It was simply easier that way. Why would I want to stress my fragile mind with ledgers and corporate tax filings? Damien loved that phrase, your fragile mind. He said it with such kindness that I felt lucky to have him. When I would get upset about something small, a new bank account he mentioned only in passing, or a strange signature line on a document I didn't fully understand, he would hug me and calmly tell me I was confused. He would say he had explained it weeks ago and that my memory had been a little off lately. He cited my grief, which had evolved into a quiet depression, as concrete evidence of my own mental decline. He didn't just tell me I was confused. He showed me. He would move things around the house and then ask me why I put them in such strange places. He would change appointments and then look concerned when I showed up at the wrong time. He used my own depression as a weapon. He created an environment where I was terrified to make a single move without checking with him first. For 7 long years, I lived in this manufactured fog. I was isolated, I was dependent, I was entirely bonded to the man who was systematically erasing me from existence. The revelation happened on our 7th anniversary. I was cleaning out Damien's home office, a space I was rarely allowed to enter without him, and I was folding some of his clothing. In the inner pocket of a new jacket, I felt the hard, rectangular shape of a second cell phone. Damien was obsessed with security. His primary phone had biometric locks I could never bypass. But this second phone had a simple 6-digit passcode. I don't know why I tried it. Maybe a small, almost dead part of myself woke up. One entered our anniversary. Denied. I entered his birthday. Denied. I entered the specific date of my mother's profound loss. The phone opened immediately. He used the date that made me vulnerable. The date that gave him my mother's assets. It was the height of calculated cruelty. I scrolled through that phone, expecting text messages or photos of a mistress. I was ready for a standard, simple betrayal. I was not ready for the real horror that phone contained. There were no texts. There were no images of another woman. There were only files. Hundreds of them, recordings of our private conversations. Recordings of me crying in my sleep. Recordings of times when I was particularly confused about our complex finances, where I would desperately beg him to explain a simple transaction. He would record himself calmly telling me I was wrong. Then he would record me breaking down. The file names were clinical: confused state test B, isolation progress, parents triggering grief for compliance. Damien was not just living a double life. He was documenting the systematic deconstruction of my mind. It was his greatest professional achievement. I sat alone on the cold floor, listening to a recording from 3 years ago. I heard my own voice asking where a particular commercial property deed was, and then I heard Damien's voice, calm, smooth, telling me I was remembering the wrong entity name, that the deed had been voided years ago. I was listening to concrete proof of my own manufactured confusion. I was listening to him actively training himself to psychologically control me. In that mountain of data, I found Erica. I assumed she was the mistress, but the messages were not about romance. They were about logistics. Erica was an estate planner. I found massive email chains between them discussing Eliza's inherited portfolio. They weren't just hiding assets. Erica was drafting power of attorney documents that I had apparently signed years ago while heavily sedated during my grief. These documents had systematically moved every single premier commercial asset, every dividend account, and my family name itself into shell companies. Companies where Damien and Erica were listed as the sole corporate directors. When Damien came home, I was standing in the center of the living room, holding the phone. My entire body was shaking with raw terror. I had no plan. I had no legal counsel. I just had the absolute, terrifying truth. I demanded an explanation. I asked him if he had ever truly loved me. I asked him if he was going to leave me for Erica. Damien did not get angry. He didn't even try to lie. He didn't try to play the concerned husband. He simply smiled, a slow, predatory smile that broke my heart into a billion pieces. He walked past me, poured himself a glass of ice water, utterly unbothered by my distress. "Oh, Eliza," he said, his voice flat, devoid of any warmth he had ever shown me. "Do you think I have spent an entire decade of my life executing a long-term psychological heist just so I could run away with an accountant? Don't be naive. I don't need Erica to be my mistress," he continued, taking a slow sip of water. "She's my sister." The silence in that room was the loudest sound I have ever experienced. Damien and Erica weren't lovers. They were a highly optimized family business model, a business built on identifying high net worth, isolated victims, trauma bonding them through extreme manipulation, and legally liquidating their lives from the inside out. Damien specialized in the long-term psychological control, while Erica specialized in the complex legal and financial architecture required to protect the stolen assets from future litigation. The woman I thought he was cheating on me with was his sister, an accomplice. The entire marriage was a decade-long performance. It was a job. I was never a wife. I was an asset class. the confrontation did not end with a heroic realization. It did not end with me kicking him out of our home. This isn't a movie. Because of the sophisticated power of attorney documents and the complex corporate structures they had built around me, Damien simply walked into the master bedroom and locked the custom-built door. I spent the next 48 hours a prisoner in my own life. I realized there was no satisfying victory. I had nothing left to use as a weapon. I had no liquid funds to hire an attorney, and even if I did, every single document they presented a court of law would have my signature on it. A week later, I was formally evicted from my own home. My family's inherited properties were sold, and the money was immediately transferred to an offshore entity that I will never locate. Today, Damien is living his perfect life in a different state. To the outside world, he is the heroic widower whose unstable wife tragically suffered a final psychological breakdown and simply vanished. He has Erica, he has my mother's inherited fortune, and he has the total freedom to do this again to someone else. I am alone in a small, sterile apartment 2 states away. I work a minimum wage job to pay for the therapy that is trying to convince my brain that simple reality is real. The worst part isn't the total financial ruin. The worst part is the memory. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, entirely convinced that finding the phone was just a confusion, that Damien is still my sanctuary, that I'm just confused because my mind is fragile, that trauma bond is a poison that continues to eat me from the inside out. There is no satisfying ending here. There is no karma coming. The bad guys won, and they didn't just take the money. They took the very fabric of who I was, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to find the first thread.